For more on this, let's turn to Peter Mathews in Los Angeles. He's a professor of political science at Cypress College. Professor, what is your biggest takeaway from this report and what we've seen in the last 24 hours from the Democrats basically subpoenaing a full, unredacted report?
That's very significant. And also, I think the biggest takeaway is that the special counsel could not conclude that no criminal conduct occurred. He could not conclude that no criminal conduct occurred, especially for obstruction of justice. That's extremely important because that's the charge that brought down President Nixon, obstruction of justice, back in 1970 when the Watergate affair, 73 when it occurred, Watergate. So this is very important that obstruction of justice charge has not been cleared fully. And in fact, Special Counsel Mueller actually asked the Congress, basically he said that Congress can investigate, and he implied that they should investigate further to see if there are any impeachable offenses through the obstruction of justice possibility. That's very important.
And the report says Trump did attempt to interfere with the special counsel's investigation. Let's put up a portion of what they had to say. They say the president's efforts to influence the investigation were mostly unsuccessful, but that is largely because the persons who surrounded the president declined to carry out orders or accede to his requests. So can the president really claim he's been exonerated?
I don't think he can claim that, actually, to be honest with you. I think that it's going to remain to Congress to become it's the investigative branch, it's the oversight branch of government that should investigate, because these are charges that are very serious, and he was not exonerated, so Congress needs to investigate whether or not there was an intent there. Just because his underlings did not carry it out, it doesn't mean the intent wasn't very serious and a violation possibly. So it has to do with high crimes and misdemeanors, and that's a lower threshold to meet than a criminal indictment. So it's very important Congress should investigate fully. And Mr. Nadler, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, has already subpoenaed information. He's also said they're going to investigate much further.
Attorney General Barr has faced some criticism from top Democrats who say he deliberately distorted Mueller's findings. Some are even calling on him to resign. Do you believe Barr's characterizations were incomplete or even misleading?
I think they were both incomplete and misleading, because he seemed to say that there's no collusion whatsoever, and therefore, and he didn't even mention obstruction of justice. He says the president has completely been exonerated, basically implying that, and I think that was very misleading, especially when millions of people are watching it around the world. At that time, it gave the wrong impression, and it certainly seemed to conflict or was not consistent with the Mueller report when it finally was released with some redactions. There was a conflict between what was fully in the Mueller report and what Attorney General Barr came out and put forth on the very first day, which really was an impactful day.
Is this report, Professor Mathews, really going to change any minds here? I mean, certainly reaction has been rather predictable along partisan lines.
It has been predictable, but there's also a large number of Americans out there who are not that well informed about all of this. And so they might actually look into it further, especially if the Congress starts investigating and more information starts coming out. There are people who can be persuaded. And don't forget, Mr. Trump did not win a majority of the popular vote. It only takes about 3 states to switch over with a few thousand voters for him to lose the next election. So it's very important that this report came out, but it needs to be completely investigated more further, and that could actually have an impact on some of public opinion.
Professor Peter Mathews joining us live from Los Angeles. Thank you, sir.